Hello, folks, and welcome back to the Inside the Mix podcast. If you are a new listener, do hit that subscribe button. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that notification bell so you get notified when there are new episodes or when we go live. If you are a returning listener, a big welcome back. The previous episode was episode 100, the centenary. We celebrated our centenary, folks, here at the Inside the Mix podcast. Amazing stuff. And this is episode 101. Interestingly, when I first created an email address back when I was 10, I used 101 in it. Tenuous link, but I thought I'd throw it in there. At the time of this episode going live, I am prepping for a short glamping break in Glastonbury, of all places. Now, unfortunately, it's not the festival. That has been and gone, but it is just outside of Glastonbury, and I love Glastonbury. My girlfriend and I regularly visit there. It's just up the road from us, probably about an hour and a half, and it's fantastic. Absolutely love it. If you haven't been there before, do go visit. I absolutely love it around there. I'm originally from that neck of the woods anyway, so I am biased. But that's what I'll be doing when this episode goes live. So this episode 101, is continuing with the mastering theme. So we are setting up our mastering session. In the previous episode 100, I demonstrated how you can create a mastering template. In episode 99, we also looked at LUFS, Loudness Unites Full Scale. So in this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to look at how we can prep the session further by identifying the true peak levels and the short-term LUFS levels as well, and how we can then add markers in Reaper or your DAW so you know where they are. So when you're doing your master, you can refer straight away to that point where you know there is a true peak or you know there is the maximum short-term LUFS reading. Ooh, but slow your roll. Before we carry on any further, head over to synthmusicmastering.com and download my guide to the 5 essential free mastering plugins. Let's dive into this episode. So this is a relatively straightforward process, folks. What I've done is I've opened RX Audio Editor. I've got just the standard edition here, and I've imported the mix into RX Audio Editor. I've opened waveform stats. So I've got the statistics for the waveforms for this. And I can see here I've got true peak, sample peak, total RMS. I've got max momentary, short term, and integrated loudness and loudness range. I'm reading those off if you're not watching this on YouTube. And the great thing is what I can do with this is I can click on this orange sort of icon to the right of the reading, and it will tell me at the bottom left where that true peak level is. So I can see it's at 23 seconds or 23.926 seconds. So I'm going to make a note of that. That's my true peak. Okay, and I'm going to do the same for max short-term loudness. So in the loudness, or rather in the waveform statistics, I've got max short-term loudness is minus 24.7, and that happens at 25.205. So just to go back, my true peak happens at 23.926 and it's minus 12.5. I've got those two readings. I'm now going to jump over to my DAW and I'm going to create markers using those two values. But before we do that, I just want to give a big shout out to Panorama Mixing and Mastering and Nick Lorenzo, because I actually got this particular part of my workflow from Panorama Mixing and Mastering and the amazing YouTube videos. So please do go check that out. I wanted to give a shout out to Nick because it is a fantastic technique for you to use in your mastering, and I use this all the time in every mastering session, and I wanted to share this with the Inside the Mix podcast audience in case you weren't aware of Panorama Mixing and Mastering. Please do go check them out. Also, RX Audio Editor isn't free, so what I want to know from you guys is this: is there a free application or plugin similar to RX Audio Editor? Let me know in the comments on YouTube or send me a message on Instagram at Inside the Mix Podcast. I would love to know if there is a free application or plugin similar to RX Audio Editor. So here I am back in Reaper, and Reaper is my DAW of choice, as you would have found out in episode 100. Do go check that one out. And here I've got my true peak reading and my max short-term LUFS reading represented by markers. You can do this in any DAW because any DAW is going to give you the ability to use markers. So I've disabled snap to grid in Reaper by pressing Option S because I don't want my markers to snap to the grid when I'm dragging them. Or alternatively, you can just click on the horseshoe at the top left, but shortcuts people, Option S. So the first one, true peak. I'm looking at my list to the right of me here, and it's 23.926. So let's drag that. I'm going to get as close as I can, 23.928. That will do. So now I've got short-term LUFS, and this is a little different. My reading is 25.205 seconds. So I'm going to drag it and get as close as I can. So I've got 25.20. But I'm actually now going to drag it to 22.205, or as close as. Because remember, short-term LUFS are 3 seconds. It's a reading taken over 3 seconds. So let's drag that back. So 23.205. Let's get as close as I can. And 23.206. So I now know if I set a 3-second loop region, so I'll turn snapback on, 3-second loop region, or approximate to, I'm going to get my max short-term LUFS value. So why is this important, you might be thinking? Well, with true peak, what I can do is this. I now know my exact true peak level. So when I am auditioning my master and I'm checking out that true peak when I'm limiting or clipping, I know immediately where my true peak is in the track. And it's going to eliminate any of that scrolling through the track and arbitrarily picking a point or trying to identify where that true peak is. I now know exactly where it is. So with the max short-term LUFS, what this enables me to do is quickly I can go in and see any changes that I've made with regards to gain compensation or maybe some saturation or anything along those lines. I could quickly set that 3-second loop region and I'll be able to see exactly how my max short-term LUFS have changed with regards to the processing that I have done. So the final marker I have is this head marker, and this is 0.3 seconds of silence right at the beginning. The reason I do this, and there's a little fade there as well, actually, you can't see it, but on YouTube, if I were to zoom in, you'd be able to see this tiny little fade, and Reaper automatically adds it at the beginning. But anyway, this marker, this head marker, this 3 millisecond silence is there so that when this is uploaded to a platform, a streaming platform, it just negates any possibility that there'll be a harsh clip or a harsh intro at the beginning because I got this tiny little bit of silence. And I've noticed this on SoundCloud. There's a song I uploaded a few years back and I didn't have this at the beginning. And the start, there's almost like this initial really harsh transient hit. And I've put this in to try and negate that. So there we go, folks. More essential tips to improve your mastering session preparation. These tips are designed to make it easier and quicker for you in the mastering process, so you can spend more time actually being creative rather than wondering where these values are. By doing this, immediately you're going to know where your true peak is. You're also immediately going to know where your short-term, your max short-term LUFS value is, and you've got that 0.3 second silence at the beginning as well. So really, really good stuff. As I mentioned right at the beginning as well, if you know of a free audio editor similar to RX, please do let me know in the comments on YouTube or send me a DM on @InsideTheMix Podcast on Instagram. So just to summarize what we've done today, you've got your mix, right? You're going to drag that into your audio editor. I've used RX Audio Editor. You're going to use waveform statistics to find out the true peak level and also the max short-term LUFS level, okay? You're then going to jump into your DAW and you're going to set markers for both those values. The big difference is with the max short-term LUFS value, you're going to have a 3-second lead-in time to it. So if your max short-term LUFS value is 25 seconds, you're going to set your marker at 22 seconds. So you've got that 3-second lead-in and you can create that cycle region. And the final bit, have that initial start, that head marker right at the beginning there at 0.3 seconds. That way you can negate any harsh transients that may appear on streaming platforms. I'm not saying it will, but I just put it in there as like a belt and braces approach. You know what I mean with that saying if you're from the UK. If you don't, Google it. It does make sense. So before you go, folks, make sure you head over to synthmusicmastering.com and download my 5 essential free mastering plugins. Alternatively, you can click on the link in the episode description.